Yo, what's going on, man? I'm your boy, Young Patriarch.
It's your boy Demano.
Welcome to the Kingdom Angle. What's good with you, my guy? You doing all right, man?
Yeah, man. I'm ready to check out Trump cooking in the kitchen.
Like we always do, man. At the what is this called? The National Association of Black Journalists. It was a lot going on, man. It was a lot going on. A lot of misinformation going forth. A lot of first and foremost, how you doing? If I haven't asked you that, how
I'm
are you?
good, man. But let's just start right there. National Association of Black Journalists. Is that what it is?
Yes.
NABJ.
Yeah, yeah. National, yeah, that's it. NABJ.
Could you imagine if they had NAWJ?
Ooh, the
Craziness, man.
headlines
This
around it, bro.
the silliness that's happening. But then they complain when he says, "Oh, they're taking the black jobs," or you get
Yeah,
offended by something that he's saying that's actually happening, and then because it's just jobs. But just like he said, anyway, I've seen a little bit of this, so I'm ready to get into it.
let's get it, man. Let's get it.
Yes, sir.
I will say this. I will say this. We see it all the time. It's a like a rules for thee, not for me kind of thing. We can we can do this and we can say this, but you can't. That's definitely uh how Marxists operate though. It's a trying to control, or let's just say Satanists. It's trying to
Mm,
control the language, trying to suppress information so that you they can control the narrative. And
right.
that's what you get literally from this interview is at least the woman in the blue anyway. Um controlling the narrative or at least trying to. And Trump shut that down real quick. How do you kill a monster? You cut his head off. And that's what he did. Off the top, off the tizzle. Hold on. Let's tap in.
As journalists, we use opportunities like these both to inform our reporting, but also to help voters understand the choices that they face in a consequential and historic election year. NABJ has partnered with PolitiFact to fact check this conversation in real time. You can access that feed on social media
Oh, I know
using
her.
the hashtag NABJ fact check. Again, the hashtag is NABJ fact check. We have a lot to get to.
And so, who is she? I don't know if she's name already, but
She looks, for whatever reason, she looks darker than usual.
is that Abby Johnson? Abby Phillips, I
That's
mean.
not.
That's not Abby Phillips
Is it?
though.
Can you zoom? Is there any way you can zoom in on it or no?
I can't.
Well, anyway, that's that lady who I'm trying to remember. Oh, okay. Do you remember the Republican debates? Trump wasn't at any of them, but it was probably the second one with Vivek when he called out the media about how they set up the whole debate, the Republican debate. And he said it should have been like Joe Rogan and hosted by like Tucker Carlson or something. And then he called out the Russia collusion thing that because I think NBC was hosting. She's from NBC. That lady's from NBC, but
Got
um, I'd never seen her as black. She looks like Indian or Native American or something like that. She
mm.
doesn't she doesn't come off as what what people have identified as black. So yeah, I'm a little surprised to see her. I forget her name, but
Her
I
mind.
would not.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, I never knew that she was a black person.
Trump. Well, I'll save it for the video. But her ideology or her mindset definitely is in terms of the race narrative or the victimization. Because she was off the rip with it, bro.
But she's the same. As I'm saying, she's that anyway. She's in the same lineup with all the fake news, NBC, MSNBC. You know, I know. Did you see when Trump did the town hall in what was that 2020? And I
No,
forget what that lady's name is, but she was all like trying to call out Q. You know what I mean? She was trying to call out Q. You know what Q is? Yes, you do. He was like, no, I don't. She was like, yes, you do. You remember that lady?
not off the top of my head. No.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. They all have this same script. They all have this like demonic narrative, and you can feel this spirit in everything that they say. Like I'm telling you, if you go and you compare the way she approaches approach Trump with her questions, as well as her colleague that works at the same news station, as well as Abby Phillips from CNN, and that other lady who did that town hall last year when he was like, "You're a nasty person." That I forget her name, but they all come at him the same way. All of them. It's like a spirit. That's what it feels like to me. But it's this relentless gauntlet of just throwing all kinds of things and into the question, like loading these questions up with all kinds of like what would you call them? Uh, spliced in different what's the word? I can't think of the word, but it's definitely like not the truth. But they try to comprise their question as if we're coming from a place of truth
Mhm.
and we want you to answer this question. And they always put him in a position where he has to, first of all, unload the question, unload it because they load it all up. So he has to unload it. And then they'll come, that's their tactic to say, you're not answering the question when he is. And it's over. It's this game over and over and over. So that's why I say this, bro. This is spiritual war, and it's a trap. They always trap Trump, like they try to trap him, but God always makes a way of escape because people aren't buying into those things, and people can see them twisting up their own questions just to put them in a position, and then they also have a just oppose of Biden and even Kamala when they're throwing softball questions at them and not pressing them like they're pressing Trump.
Right, right.
And we do not want to waste any time, so let's bring out the former president of the United States, the Republican nominee for president, former President Donald Trump.
He really walked out in that music for real.
Hi, Mr. Trump. Rachel Scott, BBC. Thank you. How are you? How are you? Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe Black district attorneys. You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first,
It was at this moment messed around and she found it was at this moment that she messed around and she found out. I'm gonna let it play.
first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner? First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much. And, you know, and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke. And I saved them and I gave them long-term financing and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, you know, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand. I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something
Mr.
was
President,
wrong.
I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric.
Nah. You wanted to take it there. You wanted to take it there. We gonna go. Don't try to cut me off now. Let me talk. You tried to set this false narrative and you tried to set the stage. Let's get into it. That's what he on. Nah. Ain't none of that, Mr. Nice Guy.
Like, you gonna come at me like that? I'm not
question.
gonna say nothing.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying you're gonna come at me like that, and I'm supposed to be like, oh, you know, I can't come at, you know, listen, you dealing with Trump, he gonna come back at you. You just be ready.
And that's why I fools with him, bro, because first and foremost, he's not gonna bow down to this establishment, to these crooked people. But he's a man, and I think in this time, bro, we've seen
Yep.
more men bow down to women than anything before. And it's like, nah, just because we on TV or whatever, I'm not going to allow you to get over on me
Right.
because of your emotions. And I think, you know, that's where that attack on masculinity comes in at when you see a manly man, a macho man, a man who actually stands for something, you know, in that white and black and don't straddle the fence, not in the gray.
Right.
That's where that attack of machoism comes in at. I was talking with a friend about this yesterday, but that's why you see, and this is an attack on homosexuals, but that's why you tend to see more homosexuals, well, I could say of a weaker man, um, is on the side of Kamala because that's the type of masculinity, quote unquote, that they want. They want that weaker masculinity, that more submissive type of masculinity, which would be real toxic masculinity instead of this godly type of masculinity that God has called men to walk in and lead. You know, they hate men. They hate men like him. They hate men like you and I, who's going to actually stand for something and call the crooked paths to be straight. You know what I'm saying? And that's what he is, and he calls it out. That's why they don't like him saying, "Oh, uh, you're fake news," or he may throw an insult here or there. And I don't, I'm not technically in agreement with that, but I will say this: I'm not going to bow down. And in the same way, when Jesus would approach the Pharisees and the scribes, he didn't hold anything back. He was
Right.
he had a spirit, he had a quick spirit of discernment. It was, I'm talking
Would
about,
you would you would you think that they would consider Jesus insulting them when he called them vipers and
never,
snakes?
right? Never at all, not at
Huh?
all, not at all.
I do. I
I mean,
would believe.
I'm sorry, yeah. In today's time, most definitely, yeah. I'm sorry about that, yeah.
No, I believe back then they felt offended and they felt like Jesus was insulting them,
Right.
or they just, you know, at the end of the day, say it's Satan that's that's bringing this deception. So And that's what he was really calling out. He was trying to call, and it's not, Jesus wasn't insulting them. Jesus was calling them out. You
Right.
know, the
Exactly.
only reason why I was saying it is I, 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 I don't believe Trump is insulting the fake news. I believe he's just calling it out and just calling it like he see it.
And just to clarify, and just to clarify, I'm not specifically saying that he was insulting them. What I'm saying is from the times that he has spoke before, I have heard him insult. But in this instance and case and all, like I'm not saying that he
Yeah,
is.
never.
He's definitely doing what he's supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? And so like I salute that. I stand on that 100%. And to even call it out to say how you all how basically how can you come off with these questions and be so unprofessional, but you was 35 minutes late. Make that make sense.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But the tone that he's using today is the same tone he's always used with the news. I don't see any change, but I'm just trying. I'm at the top because I've seen so many of his news clips. I'm at the top of my head. I'm trying to think of when he purposely, or not even purposely, something that's considered an insult.
So has he, and so and maybe I may be misquoting, but
No,
has
like what? Yeah, what?
and so has he not said anything about uh Hillary?
No, no, no. You said we're talking about the news media.
Are you talking about this interview, right?
I'm talking about the news media.
But no, I was just saying in terms of personal attacks or insults, he hasn't said anything. I
Oh,
could be
you're
wrong.
just saying in general. I thought we were talking about the news media. Like
No,
he's
no,
insulted the news media.
no. I was just talking about no. Just in like you said, in general. And
Okay.
now
I'm just trying to understand
may be wrong. I
the
may be wrong. I may
connection.
be misquoting. I mean, but at the end of the day, at
No,
the end,
he's definitely, and so I've heard him insult what's his name? He called Shifty Schiff. Well, I've heard insults to Hillary, I've heard insults to, of
right.
course, Biden, and actually I haven't heard really insults with Biden. He just calling everything out with Biden. Um, Sleepy Joe, is that insulting him? I guess that's an insult. So yeah, these
I,
nicknames are insults, I guess. But yeah, well, yeah, I'm just trying to find the significance in why. But anyway, go ahead.
no, with what's going on with what's going on now, um, nah, he's in his bag cooking. I mean, he cooking. He cooking.
With another
I
4
have been
years.
the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President
That's
Johnson,
my
who signed the
answer.
Voting Rights
And
Act.
for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead.
Bro, she just like it's like a dog yap. You know, like how the Chihuahua just wah, 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 wah.
Yeah,
No, she just
yeah. It comes off as just feral or robotic, like there's no emotion and there's no feel. You know, she comes off almost as like androgynous because Trump just called you out and just said it's a disgrace the way you just approached me, and y'all were 35 minutes late, and then you can't even say hi. There's no, and she just goes straight to the next thing, like as if he never said that at all. To me, that comes off so disingenuous and not true journalism, because if she was truly a journalist, she would engage with who she's you know, journaling. She would engage in it. He's saying something personally to you, and he's actually engaging you. He could have just he could do what you're doing to him and just spout off and just go in different places. But he's actually trying to engage in what you're saying to him. And then and the way she just went to the next thing. Come on, like to me that it really showcases that these people are not genuine in their reporting or their journalism.
It's an all-out attack, though, bro, and
Yeah,
like
man.
onslaught. That's what it is, you know. And like I said, it just you know, she's not you she's not even breathing as she's asking these questions. She just, like you said, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And he said, I came here in good spirits. I came here to have a conversation. I came to talk. Hey, I knew I was stepping into a hostile environment. Or I knew people would be indifferent. I knew that there would be some opposers. I knew that there would be some supporters, but nonetheless, I came here. I came here to garner the vote. I came here to show myself as um trustworthy, credible. I came here to show myself in a different way, so to say. Uh but you want to paint me in this fashion. You want to make me seem as the media does. But I love how he called it. It was the second question. Are you fake news? Are you fake? Are you fake? You know what I'm saying, bro? Call
Right.
that out, man. Because these are snakes, bro. And it's sad.
How do you define
Diversity, equity, inclusion.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
Give me a
literally
definition
the words.
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition. Of
Sir,
that.
I'm asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me, if you
I
would.
just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always
But you know
identified
what?
as a black woman.
I
She went to a
respect
historically
either
black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do
And
you
I
believe
think,
that
I think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you ask continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir.
She was conveniently black. That's what I call it. Conveniently that, man. Because again, she was this up until that point, and then to become, I'm assuming, vice president. That's when you start hearing people, black girl magic and black this and first, you know what I'm saying, bro?
Bro, I'm so happy that I'm off of the black ship. I don't want to go to no cookouts. Hey, I'm glad you can call me whatever you want to call me. I'm just happy to look at my own self and just say, hey, I'm Karen Mel, something like that. But I'm happy to have successfully detached myself from the culture, and I don't care about what anybody say because I want to install Christ culture in the place of black culture.
Right.
That's all I gotta say.
Sir, do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans
I really don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length. And we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that.
Well,
interview.
you told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we were divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, A lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
And
Mr. President,
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that. And Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country, and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs.
And that's something that they continuously want to look over, is that she was the border czar. They try to act like that she wasn't. They try to act as if this job for her never existed. But the proof is in the pudding, bro. You know, it's you accepted the job, except the failure that you did at it. Point blank. I think, if you owned up to it and was more honest, I think people can be more open or respect more your presidency. But these people literally look at you in your face and try to gaslight you, man. Try to act as if they didn't do these things, or they try to act as if they weren't in charge of these things. And you know, I think she said at the Democratic National Convention, talking about Trump, he talks a big game about the border and how he's going to secure the border, but in the words of my friend Quavo, he doesn't walk it like he talks it. First and foremost, woman, you didn't walk it like you talk it. So how you sitting up here trying to act as if this man didn't try to establish something at the border to keep this invasion from popping off?
Yeah, it's crazy.
You don't want to acknowledge that. You just want to put the spotlight on Trump as if he's the bad guy, but you don't want to take any responsibility for what you did.
Right, which is their tactic. Their tactic is to don't look at what I'm doing. Hey, look over here, squirrel. You know, that's their tactic, and it's so played out now. It's getting old. People are tired of the gaslighting. They're tired of you trying to derail what our own eyes see, and trying to get us to focus on other things. No, we're still going to be talking about this assassination attempt. We got to figure out what happened there, or we're gonna figure out what happened in the 2020 election, and we're gonna figure. At this point, I think that's where the threat to their democracy, what they say, but really they have no democracy. They are the threat to actual democracy, because they're just choosing people and putting candidates up without the people's input. Where on this side, everybody that's been chosen is because we the people, this is what we want. We want Trump. And even all the candidates realize, okay, yeah, we just kind of running. I don't know why Trump is not even here and he's still beating us. Like, okay, you know what I mean? That's the difference.
And yeah, and you said something I wanted to touch upon. It'll come back to me.
And frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the millions of people that are pouring into our country. And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you address some of the issues with Black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
True.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts, and this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble.
Which Trump prophesied, by the way, so to say.
Yeah.
Did
Trump
he
has
not?
been very prophetic. He has been very prophetic. Absolutely.
The issues that we are seeing today, word for word, Trump said would happen. And people ignore, kind of like with Candace Owens. She was saying a lot of stuff that the people weren't trying to hear. It emerged. Candace Owens said, I told y'all this, y'all weren't listening.
Right.
It always seems as if the media paints these portraits of these people as the bad guys, who in fact are the truth tellers. And then when the truth comes about, they try to downplay it. I guess so. They try to downplay it as if it wasn't what these people were saying not so long ago.
Right.
And that bothers me. That bothers me because it's not truthful, it's not honest. And I mean, at this point, I'm all about the truth, bro. I just want the truth and nothing but the truth. If this man told us that all these things that we see was going to take place, I think people should ask those questions. How did you know this? How did you know this? Like, we should start there. How did you know this? Like, and you got anything to say before I start?
Yeah, no, man. I'm just really excited about because I feel like what you're touching on is going to affect this party on the right side. People who are seeing what Trump is going through. Trump is his own individual, so he's going to handle the situation the way he's going to handle it. I mean, like his persona, but everybody tries to attack that. Everybody's like, "Oh, why is he taking back? Why is he's so hostile? Trump is so hostile." And this is how he will handle it. Now, if Vivek was sitting there, maybe he would handle it in a more diplomatic, different way. But it's still going to be sharp. It's still going to be piercing, and he's still going to call things out.
Right.
But Trump is Trump, and I get sick of people trying to change him because he's not presidential. He's not this. He is Trump, and people want him because he stands on business. And it's time for America to start standing on business because they ripping us off. They taking advantage of us. And he said, no, we better stand on business. We elected a businessman because now we want business to be handled because it hasn't been handled. Point
Facts.
blank, period.
You cook, bro.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
gonna
sorry,
come.
my bad.
Give me a plate, man. But they asked him, and that reminds me of a video clip. But they asked him when he was younger, would he run for president?
Would you like to be the president of the United States?
I really don't believe I would run it, but I would like to see somebody as the president who could do the job, and there are very capable people in this country.
Most people who are capable are not running for office. Most men are frightened of politics today.
It is a shame, isn't it?
Yes.
It is a shame. The most capable people are not necessarily running for political office, and that is a very sad commentary on the country. They had major corporations and they had this and that, but they are not running for political office.
Why wouldn't someone like yourself run for political office? You have all the money that you possibly need. You've accomplished a great deal, even though you are only 34. I know there's a lot of things that you possibly can do in the years ahead. Why wouldn't you dedicate yourself to public service?
Because I think it's a very mean life. I would love and I would dedicate my life to this country, but I see it as being a mean life, and I also see it that somebody with strong views and somebody with the kind of views that are maybe a little bit unpopular, which may be right, but may be unpopular, wouldn't necessarily have a chance of getting elected against somebody with no great brain but a big smile. And that's a sad commentary for the political process.
Television, in a strange way, has ruined that process, hasn't it?
It's hurt the process very much. I mean, the Abraham Lincolns of the world. Abraham Lincoln would probably not be electable today because of television. He was not a handsome man, and he did not smile.
For some people, the ultimate...
Would you ever run for politics, or would you worry about them going after your life? I mean, messing up your life, messing up you too. How would you feel if he went into politics?
I think he would do terrific.
You know, there's a certain dishonesty, unfortunately, that you need for running for office. Now, it's an unfortunate thing, but you would know this perhaps better than anybody in the world, right?
I've coached a few.
I'm a pretty straight guy, and I'm not sure that somebody that really calls it like it is and says this is what you have to do, I'm not sure that kind of a guy gets elected. Maybe so, maybe not. Everybody wants me to do it. They all want me to run. But I would take a much harder stand. I'd take a much more difficult stand, I would say. Make a couple of enemies. I think I'd make a lot of friends, ultimately. But I'm not sure that type of person is really electable.
Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically. Yeah. How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community when it comes to money?
So, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess, you know, this woman was unable to get the right equipment. But it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually. But so I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it, but I'll do the best I can with it. The inflation is absolutely destroying our middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster in our country. Inflation is a country buster. It breaks every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating. And if you just take a look at a lot of things they don't include, like interest rates. Interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't borrow the money because of the cost of the money. They can't buy it because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country, and it's destroying the black community probably as much or more than any.
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls. And then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history. And his poll numbers crashed. And instead of saying, you know, let's keep going and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight. A prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing what you say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him. And now we have to steer it to her. But ultimately, it's the same because they have bad policy. They have policies of open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies. They want to get rid of, as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country. They're absolutely destroying our country. But the inflation is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population, and every other population within our country. Inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years. And they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58. Whatever it may be, they don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too. But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr. President, can I ask you another question that is also impacting black Americans?
And that's very clear now. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sonia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff. The deputy has since been charged with murder. You've said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity, in your opinion?
Immunity?
Let's talk about that for a minute, Mono. Talk about that immunity.
So yeah, they from what I gathered, the news media, or at least the mainstream media, has painted the narrative that Trump is going to give full immunity to all cops and put them in a position to where nothing can happen to them, even if they are in the wrong. And it's not true. And but because they have successfully, just like other narratives that they put out, have been able to brainwash people with them, you got a lot of people believing that already, right? And so what they do is they put out a narrative, and then they get people to believe it. Then they come and question Trump with the narrative. Now Trump has to unload it, debunk it, and which I believe you will see here. He'll do it, because I've seen this part as well, and he'll do it pretty well, because he's saying it depends. Their immunity depends obviously on the situation, which is fair.
And I think because
And
it's
he
from
didn't say white cops, black cops. He just said all policemen, all police will have this access to this type of immunity. That's it.
because it's from this narrative that police are out to kill all black people.
White.
Exactly. And
So
that's
they
it.
successfully painted the narrative that white, they say police officers, but everybody thinks white. They're not thinking, oh, all police officers have access to this immunity. But because they successfully put that narrative out there that police officers are out there to get you, they think white.
And to
White cop.
and to bring some context to the immunity for people. I don't think people understand. Well, they do, but they just don't like to acknowledge that. But the police officers are under a microscope now, bro.
They've been for a while.
If they sneeze wrong, if they step into a house wrong, if they grab their gun wrong, they can't make a mistake. They have to be 100% perfect. Wow.
Not all white cops.
Oh yeah, you're right. Exactly right. Because when it was the five black cops with the Tyree Nichols situation, who was a black guy, bro, that probably lasted maybe a week, in terms of a week or 2 weeks, in terms of
Oh,
people
people
being,
done forgot about that, huh?
oh bro, let it have been. Do you know, if that would have been 5 white cops, bro, we would have been in a civil war right now. We would have been in a war, right? And I'm probably can't think of the word right now, but yeah, we would have been in a war right now. The fact that they bypass the one who the other person, not the cop, but the other person, as if this person can't do no wrong, as if they haven't done any wrong, just goes to show me. And this is the black guy we talking about, not the white cop, but the black guy. But just goes to show me that these people have no respect for America, period, point
Right.
blank.
Or humanity, or common sense, or logic. Because I'm just going to play a little devil's advocate here, whatever you want to call that. I don't ever advocate for the devil, but however you want to call it, people black who identify as black will say, well, the white people had never been enslaved, and their people ain't never been put in chains and shackles, and so that will be their excuse as to why we should have this type of privilege, because they had privilege. Two wrongs don't make a right, black people. Y'all, people, and we, the fair, at the end of the day, the people who are alive now did not exist in those times, all of us. And what is present right now is a system, mainly a part of the world, not all over the world, but for the most part, everyone is equal. Everyone is seen as free. Most societies have a free society. There are no systems in place because of skin tone or ethnicity that keeps you back, especially not here in the United States, which is why all different types of ethnicities from other countries are fleeing here because the American dream is for everybody. And the evidence is out there. We have so many black millionaires, black celebrities, black actors, black athletes, black entrepreneurs who are very, 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 very successful and who are rolling in a lot of dough. So just bypass me with this whole, oh, these people used to their ancestors were our oppressors, so we should have the opportunity to have some kind of clout. And no, that's all pride. Everybody is equal. Let's get this united and let's move forward. That's
Big
what I gotta
facts.
say.
Nah, big
With
facts,
Trump.
big facts, bro. And I think that people have to we have to look at the fact that it's based on how we view ourselves in terms of that freedom. Because um as you said, most systems in this world are free, uh especially here in America. But how
Are
do you
equal. Right.
are equal, excuse me, are
Yeah.
equal.
No, you're
How
good. You're good. Yeah.
how do you view yourself? That's the biggest thing. How
Yeah.
do you
What change did you have around you that's keeping you back? And sometimes you don't even realize that you have changed. You wearing something as a badge of honor, but it's actually a chain, a shackle. Whew.
that'll
And I
preach.
and I think the very first thing is the whole black. Let me stop. I'm going too deep. Let me
That'll
stop right
preach.
there.
But that'll preach though, bro, because we have these preconceived mindsets, these notions, all of what it's supposed to be and what it's not supposed to be, not realizing that that could be the very thing that's holding you back. Oh well, for instance, I'm gonna just give an example, but oh man, I ain't gonna eat healthy. That's some white people do. You just you literally just put a blockade, so to say, on your health, on your well-being, on
Because of ignorance.
because of ignorance, bro. Oh well, I've been
Ignorance.
told, I've been told plenty of times. I've been told plenty of times, oh man, you talking white, you acting white, uh, you reading a book. And so if I stop that, I put a blockade on my mental development simply because of
So yeah.
what we deemed as white culture and black culture.
Human beings read books. We have eyes. There's letters. Like I just that's the thing that's so dysphoric about this whole colorism Crayola situation is the fact that you'll take something as simple as uh like a human being, like the capacity of what a human being does. You can look at children and you see how they all play and they all interact. It's all the same way. A baby cries the same way. You can If I hear a baby crying, I would not be able to tell if that baby was Korean or African or from Scandinavia or Switzerland, because a baby's cry is the same.
Right,
So
right.
how did we get from that to where we see a baby and it's a baby? It's all shaped the same. You could put a Huggies diaper on every type of every color baby that you want, but it fits. It's the same way. You got to change the baby the same. The functionality of humanity is the same way, and yet here we are in history where if a white person or a human being that's Caucasian braids their hair, now they are violating cultural appropriation. It's just how did we get here? Like this is like I really feel like at the 90s, 2000s, we were like at a sweet spot at a place where everybody was like, hey, okay, we all seeing each other. Okay, good. Let's get this. Let's unite. United States. Let's be great. And that's what we're trying to get back to.
Well, nah, bro. I I think that it's always been there though, bro. Because even in the 60s was somewhat the breeding grounds of it. Then you see it somewhat emerge in the 70s and 80s. It was the countercultural movement, who wanted to go against the social norms and the traditions of that time, which was more of republicanism, so to say. Um, you see these liberal progressives come up, and it's literally kind of what you're seeing today. I think that the issue never been resolved, so to say.
Oh
I
no, no.
I think that it's always been in the hearts of the people. They just always, I mean, I guess they find a different way to repackage it. But they want a revolution. They want
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I feel like there was a time period where we were heading in the right direction. People were being educated. We had programming out there. Remember that I went back and I watched Family Matters. Let's say, for instance, I watched the first few seasons. Then I saw the change when they came in, especially I think during the Clinton years
Right.
when they came in and the programming changed. I saw a lot more Christ and biblical references in the sitcoms.
Mm,
Especially seasonal, when during Christmas and stuff. And then it changed to more commercialism. Same thing with BET. BET started out, of course, it's black entertainment television, but they always had segments in it where you're honoring Christ.
mm,
They had, BET, the whole Sunday was dedicated. And then all of a sudden, Bob Johnson sold BET to the liberals,
mm.
basically, and they took over it.
Right.
And
Right.
now we don't even have Bobby Jones gospel. We don't have no gospel countdown. We ain't got no gospel programming. I mean, it's all gone.
Mm,
And and the black culture rooted in Christ, in the gospel, in the church. I remember when I was growing up, pretty much for the most part, every black person I met, they was in some church. They know, so there
mm,
was a monolith. There was a familiarity. That's all
right.
gone now. It's all disappeared. They've
Right.
taken over that, and they've hijacked it to where now black almost equals gay,
Right.
LGBT. It's all the same to me.
But I think the truth of it is that it's always been on the backdrop though. It's always been on the
Yeah, it's always
backdrop.
been their plan. Yeah. No, I'm just saying. I'm
Well,
not.
no, well, no, I'm just saying. I'm not necessarily saying they're playing because we know what the Bible says. But what I'm saying is, and I get what you saying. I get what you saying. What I'm saying is though I think that it's always been there. There was just never there was just never something to actually bring it forth. So things seemed as if they were good at one point in time, and not saying that they weren't for the people that it benefited. It most definitely and certainly did, you know. But what I'm saying is that it was just that was just they were just waiting on the right moment to be like, oh, see, there we go again. There, there we go with that again. That's how you know America racist. That's how you
Oh, I
know.
see what you mean. I mean, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if the Democrat Party still exists, then yes, it's always gonna that is always gonna be present. But I do believe that, with during the technological advances, it put humanity in a different perspective in a time period, which is why everything feels so asinine right now, where they're trying to take us back in the past with all these race narratives and these identity politics, because it's like y'all want us to forget, like, we literally just been through a time period where, and not only that, but that time period has produced a lot more individuals who are mixed culturally and ethnically. So
Mhm.
your narrative really starts to fall. Like it's either going to create more dysphoria, which I'm seeing, was part of Satan's plan, or people are going to start to have more cognitive dissonance and be like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, I just need to get away from all this because I just want to be human. Like literally, I just wake up and brush my teeth just like everybody else. Like we got to get away. And that's where I think a lot of people are starting to come to this conclusion. They're just like, okay, I'm sick of playing this white, black, this, that.
Right.
This is who we are. This is who you are. When I've met so many people now. I will literally have to dumb myself down to participate in this when I've met so many people who have, a mom that's Jamaican and European, and they married somebody. Like I met, I used to play tennis with this guy who is his dad is from Grenada, his mom is from, but his dad is from Grenada, but he has like some European in his background. His mom is Jamaican, and she has some Asian in her background. And so he's just this mix of he's just a human being. That's all. I was like, I can't call you anything because
Right.
you know, but the way they play it now is you have to be this or you have to be that. Like obviously Joe Biden, if you undecided whether you're gonna vote for me or not, then you ain't black. As if like it, at this point, it's so asinine. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just saying. At this point, it feels very stupid to participate now in this programming. It's
Right.
time for us to get out of it and call things out in a common sense type of way.
Right. And for the most part, as you said, I think people are finally coming around to that because they are beginning to see the bull crap, so to say, in so many words. They are starting to see the playing the playing of one against the other. Um, because of, for instance, during it, and we probably can do a reaction on this. I know I wanted to, but during the time of George Floyd, and I think I may have told you this, but there was a guy by the name of Tony Temple. He calls the police. I believe he was mentally challenged. He called the police. He called the police officers. I think he might have been on some type of drug or whatever. So the police officers came to where he was, and they basically had him, um, for lack of better terms, apprehended for the most part. They got him in handcuffs and basically was trying to get him calmed down. Now remember, he called the police because he actually wanted help. Well, they end up getting him in handcuffs, and I think he might have been resisting or whatever. So they end up putting their knee. Um, I don't I don't know if it was on his neck or on his back, but they had their knee on him for like 12 minutes. Now remember, they had their knee on George Floyd for 8 minutes, but they had their knee on him for 12 minutes. Well, this man ends up dying. This man, he's laughed at and mocked at and ridiculed before he died and after he died. And we didn't get to see this footage until I believe 1 or 2 years after this had actually happened. So this was 2 years, I believe, that nothing happened to the police officers, and it was what it was up until I believe some things were revealed. Now I don't know what happened to the officers. We can find that out later. But what I'm getting at though is that I'm believing that people are actually beginning to see how crooked and how demonic, how evil that the mainstream media actually is, and how they're actually trying to play us against one another.
Oh
If
yeah.
if I do play that video, bro, if I do a reaction on that video, it's it's to show it's to be genuine first and foremost to people, to show them what they're actually doing. Why didn't we hear about Tony Temple the way that George Floyd was hosted up and around everywhere, bro? Why didn't we hear about that? Why? Um, you know, why? And not that I'm advocating for the burning of buildings and and looting and all of that, but would people have had the same energy for Tony Temple had his name, had he been out in the press like that? Nah, bro. You know what I'm saying? But they do this stuff because they know that a certain group of people are going to, or people who identify as a thing are going to react a certain way because they feel oppressed in this nation. And that's sad to me. That's sad to me that they can't be honest and be good journalists like the woman in the red and not the woman in the blue, who would literally be example of a good and a bad journalist. It's actually funny that you got one in red and you got one in blue, because you know what that seems to represent, but I ain't even gonna go there. However, um, oh, so you got one in the red who actually asking questions about policies and actually want information. Peep this out. Then you got one in the blue who's actually who comes in the spirit of accusation and attacking.
Yeah, yeah,
Peep
yeah. That's
game
what I'm
on that.
saying.
Peep
That's what
game
I'm
on that.
saying. That's what I'm
Peep game on
saying.
that.
She coming straight from the orc cloud, but that's a whole different anyway. And the lady in the red, that her name is Harris Faulkner. She's from Fox News. I I I encourage you all, if you don't know who she is, go do some research on her. She's been around for a while, and she has a lot of footage with President Donald Trump. She's interviewed him. She's had at least three exclusive interviews with him, sit downs. So get to know her. She's a Christian lady and she stands on business. That's why she's asking questions in an open format rather than that other lady who is agendafied. She is part of the agenda.
Right, right. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna just leave it here. We can just leave it here, and then we'll come
Yeah,
back
I'm
to it.
sorry, man. I tired of the mug. I'm
I
saying,
understand.
hey, get it
I
there.
understand. I
But
understand.
I still want to do this, man. I want to finish the rest of this. So if I can just
Man,
get a little rest, I'm and let me know when you're ready again. I'm off all day today. So
that we'll just put this as part one.
part
But yeah,
one, bookmark.
for sure, for sure. But let us know what y'all think down in the comments, man. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Peace, love. We out.
We out.